Hello, everybody. Welcome into this month's edition, the February in the year of our Lord 2022's edition of the yet unnamed Coach Davis podcast. As we get ready to talk Ottawa University Braves football, I was really hoping by this point in time to have come up with a name or had some suggestions, but alas, the creativity has not been flowing. So we are yet unnamed, and we will continue so until that perfect name is found. But what has been found is the man to fill the Coach Davis podcast. That's Coach Davis himself. So, Coach Nick Davis, welcome to your podcast. How you doing?
Pretty good, man. I'm thinking maybe dazzling Coach Davis. I don't know. Or we're developing Coach Davis, alliteration. We'll figure it out again. Maybe ask the audience.
Yeah, I think we should. I threw it out there when we posted last month. And I heard crickets, or at least that faraway look that Wade Davis would give when he was on the sidelines for whatever team he was coaching. But we'll try it again. Since it is February, though, I could have thrown out dashing Davis, dashing Coach Davis in the month of love. So, which we were been trying to figure out when we were going to do this, and we actually thought about on Valentine's Day and then realized that would not go well. So we chose to point it to another day, and which is today. So how was your Valentine's Day? Did you have a good time?
Yeah, happy wife, happy life. We actually just hung out at our house and enjoyed each other's company with the dogs. So it was good, saved some money. So that was a nice thing. And we'll probably celebrate it maybe this weekend, going out to a nice dinner someplace.
You do like to visit some local places, and you continue your mastery of the social media arts. I believe you are a 12th level black belt when it comes to using Twitter. I'm sure we will see some posts of the food places that you go.
Yeah, no, that'll definitely be on a Tasty Tuesday here to come.
See, you save it for I like it. Save it for the Tasty Tuesday. See, now we're actually probably going to do the same thing. We'll probably go out this weekend, but I did do steaks for the Valentine's Day for the family. So, and no one died. They ate them and survived. So that is, it's doubly positive as far as that goes. So now it's all downhill from here. It as we head to spring ball, but the other part of February is National Signing Day, and for the people who have not paid attention on the social media, on the Twitters, Ottawa University very busy in the signing day and going after kids. And first of all, as this is your first year as a coach, how do you approach going after and signing players? Are you looking to fill needs? Are you looking to find the best athlete available? Is it like being a GM for a pro sports team? Kind of walk me through it for you.
Yeah. So when we took over here, me and the coaches, and we sat down and we said, ideally, what's our roster? What do we want it to look like? What do we want? What is the depth that we want on our roster with every position? And certain, coaches said, hey, I'd like to be this deep at this position. Certain other coaches. And as we went through it and we started to figure it out and calculated it, we knew those were the numbers that we would need to get to as a program. And I think that's important, that you go into it and it's, you are looking for the best players, but sometimes you're looking for, hey, we need to bring in 8 offensive linemen because we didn't get nearly the offensive linemen we thought we were going to get last year, or maybe 2 years ago or 3 years ago. And it's came back and it's kind of gotcha where, you want to go and recruit that. And kind of my philosophy is, you for sure within signing day, you want to bring in 22 caliber starters that their senior year, if they hadn't started already, they should be starters in your program. And that's the hope, that those guys end up being multiple year starters. But that is kind of my philosophy, is we should get a starter in every position on offense and defense. You should get a good kicker, a good punter, potentially a long snapper in every class. And then, then you fill your needs kind of here and there. At the small scholarship level, I don't have full scholarships where you have to be picky, where Kansas may say, we got 6 scholarships left and we already have 4 quarterbacks on scholarship. We don't need to bring in that guy. Well, at our level, we may have 4 scholarship quarterbacks. Well, we could bring in a 5th guy if he really wants to come to the school. So that's kind of how we constructed it on our end. And then what we did this year was, I coach our defensive backs next season. I recruited all the defensive backs. Coach Coombs recruited all the linebackers and defensive linemen, because that's the area he's going to be working with. Coach Mendez recruited all the tight ends, offensive linemen, and running backs. And then Coach Hennes, our new coach, who's going to coach our quarterbacks and receivers and be our offensive coordinator and special teams coordinator, recruited all the kickers, punters, quarterbacks, and receivers, because those guys are going to be coaching them. So let those guys build relationships with those players, because they're going to be spending a lot of time. We went across, Kansas and Oklahoma and Texas recruiting. We went out to California. But that was where we were finding prospects, getting them to fill out our questionnaire. And then once they got in at that position, coach handled recruiting all those defensive backs.
What did you feel like was the main area of need when you were recruiting? And do you feel like that you've accomplished your goal with that area?
Yeah, I think the biggest need for us was to get deep in certain positions. Defensive line was an area where we have really good football players on our team. We just didn't have a lot of them. So we got into a game like Bethel where we only had 4 healthy defensive linemen on our varsity roster that game, because we had 2 kids kind of banged up. So it puts you in situations where maybe we would have done things a little differently if we were a little healthier. So we brought in a good amount of defensive linemen on depth. We had the same issue on special teams. Now, Bob, the one thing that I think about as a defensive coach, it's generally your defensive roster should always be larger than your offense, because most likely more special teams players are going to come from that position. We were smaller this season, and that had been the first season as a coach in my 10-year career where the defense was smaller numbers than the offense. So we needed to get some D linemen. We needed to get some linebackers. We're still trying to figure out 3 or 4 more defensive backs to come in to kind of get us to the depth we want on the offensive side of the ball. We needed to bring in some depth at the O-line position. And we did a pretty good job with that. If there's any O-linemen out there that are interested, and Coach Mendez just got a new Traeger, and you like smoked meats, you may want to come to Ottawa. So let us know. Quarterback was, and we were young at the quarterback position. So that was a position we felt that we could go get maybe a transfer that had experience. And we accomplished those goals. At the receivers position, we brought in 1 or 2 or 3 guys. It wasn't huge. We already had some good depth, but it was bringing, hey, well, you still need to bring in some freshmen. And then I think we brought in some young freshman tight ends. And then we brought in a kicker out of the Kansas City area from Olathe West, which we're really excited about in terms of our kicking game. And then we brought in another kicker from Florida who's actually going to play lacrosse at the school and kick for us. So sometimes you end up with some dual sport guys.
Is there a strategy that you like to have, or does it matter to you? Whether you try to bring in JUCO transfers or just transfers, as opposed to going just with freshmen and building them up, or do you like to have a mix?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if there's necessarily a strategy. I think it's about finding the right fits for your school. Because to me, it's, yes, the kids want to come play football, and that needs to be a priority for them. But they also need to want to be at the school, all right? Because wanting to be at the school, wanting to graduate from Ottawa, that's going to help keep them, help retain them here in the school. But as I just look at some of the We got 11 enrollees currently in the spring. One of them was a junior college kid. We had 2 freshmen that kind of took a gap year, and they had current teammates on our roster, so they hadn't gone to college. That their teammates had an amazing experience, and their high school teammates convinced them to come join our program. We brought in a quarterback who had been at a Division I school, transferred to another Division I school, been at 2 different junior colleges, and he has 2 years of eligibility left and has passed like 90 credits. So he'll probably end up being a graduate player for us. We brought in another transfer quarterback that had played junior college, that had been at an NAIA school. We brought in a transfer kid from Kansas, or from Highland Community College here. We brought in a junior college kid from California, from Northern California. We brought in a kid that was just at Kansas State going to school, that decided he missed the game. And that was kind of, and another NAI transfer, a kid that played at Midland and decided that he wanted to transfer in. So it was kind of a mixture with the transfer portal. You get those guys' information from the transfer portal. So you're able to look at some Division I and Division II guys, but there's no necessarily a strategy. A lot of times, Bob, there's connections. And really, with a lot of our transfers, there was either a coach that had recruited that guy prior, or there was a player on our team that had a connection that said, hey, you should give Ottawa a try. They're really doing something special. The facilities are great.
Do you feel like that you have players that can come in and contribute right away that you have recruited in?
Yeah, in terms of some of the mid-year transfers, obviously they're going to get a really good shot at it, because we're going to have spring ball starting in March. And in fact, we're going to add some kids, because we're here at Ottawa, we're able to have spring 1 and spring 2. So we're going to add some more guys to the mix in terms of we have a Division I transfer defensive back that's coming in. We have another quarterback to add to the mix that was a Division II transfer. And we're going to have a prep school kid defensive back from the Louisiana area. So those are guys that we're going to add to the mix. Those 14 guys are going to get a great opportunity to learn what we're doing on offense, what we're doing on defense, be able to have 15 practices and get to know what we're doing. All right. The expectations on some of those guys is we think that they're going to be able to play a lot for us. The expectation on our returning football players is to make sure those guys don't take their positions and create this competition where you end up getting, we have 90 guys in our program, which I think that is the biggest, probably a top 10 biggest spring roster we've ever had in the history of the program. So we're going to be super competitive and, have guys compete, because competition breeds excellence, and we'll ultimately get better from that. So from the freshman aspect of it, I think those guys will have a little bit more challenging aspect. We brought in some really good football players from across the country, from anywhere from Florida, Jacksonville, Florida, to we got guys in California. We got a guy down in the very southern tip of Texas, around the Brownsville area. And we got guys as north as Nebraska, in the kind of the central part. We got guys in Colorado, Missouri, Kansas, and we brought in, close to 20 Kansas kids, which we were excited about. You want to take care of your own state. So that will be a little bit more challenging, because they're coming, they're away from home for the first time. They're learning a whole new playbook. They're meeting 120 new teammates. They're living away from home for the first time. So some of those guys will need a transition of, they're going to need to figure things out. But the cool thing about Zoom and having a playbook virtually, and we have an app called Teamworks where our kids can get on there and look at our playbook, and they can get on Huddle, is a kid could be as prepared as he wants to be, or he could not prepare at all. So it's definitely a fun time, because I see these kids in December, January, and February. And then, unless they come back for our spring game in April, I don't see them again until August. Well, that kid could become a way better football player in 6 months. He could be the same, or he could regress. So those are always things that, you're always looking at when they're on campus. You see that progression that whole entire time.
Now, I know that this question may be a type asking like a parent to pick his favorite child or her favorite child. Do you have somebody that you are really excited to see, looking forward to see what they can do once they step foot on the field for Ottawa University?
I am. And I think that guy to me is a kid. He's a kicker. He's from Olathe West. I'm really excited. He got on campus. He's a positive guy. He reminds me a lot of myself. So I'm excited. And most coaches are going to tell you, a dude quarterback or dude DB. I'm excited about him. And I'm excited about a lot of guys. But there was a lot of great families I met on the recruiting visits and got to know some guys and figured out why they're excited. Another kid, Del Rio Johnson III from Chicago, Illinois. He wants to create video games. So one of the only schools he went and visited that had that ability as a major was Ottawa. So he's excited to come here and start his video game career. So he kind of lit up in the room. And, as you start looking through the roster, I asked every single one of these guys, Bob, why they love football. And everyone had a great answer of why they loved it. And everyone was different. And, that's okay. Not everybody, should have the same reason of why they love the game, but it's important that they do love it. And me sit there and see, well, hey, what was it? Is it scoring touchdowns? Is it being around the guys? Almost every one of these guys that committed, one of their favorite things about playing football is the unselfish of playing with their team.
So just as you try to sell kids on coming, kids got to sell themselves, though, to the coaching staff also. So what is it that you and the coaching staff were and continue to look for prospective players and students to come to Ottawa University?
Yeah, and I don't necessarily think of it as selling. I think it is, hey, we're going to be ourselves. We're going to be honest with these kids. We're going to tell every kid what is great about Ottawa from a school aspect. And we're going to be upfront with them with the challenges. We're going to tell them what's great about the town of Ottawa. We're going to be able to tell them the challenges. Everybody knows that Ottawa is a very small town. That is a good thing for some people. That's a challenge for others. And it's figuring out what those people want. Well, if it's a challenge because they don't like small town, we're pretty close to a huge town with 1 million people population around it. Is it down the street? No. But nice part about where we're at, it's also very safe community and all those sort of things. And if they love small town, then we're a perfect fit because we're a small town where, everyone kind of knows your business a little bit, which is a good and bad thing. But, just trying to figure out what's important to those kids. And what I always told the recruits, Bob, right, it's a little glimpse in is it's not what I want. It's what are they looking for? What do they need? It's, not what I need. It's what's best for them at the end of the day, not what's best for me, not what's best for Coach Mendez. So it's just being honest with them, telling them about we're going to love them. All right. We're going to be on them. We're going to keep them accountable. We want to have a positive mindset. We want to bring in this family atmosphere. And does that line up with what they want? If that's what they want, and I said, hey, you ever feel like you're not having a great experience here? I want you to come talk to me. Is it me? Is it you? Is it something that we can do together? Because ultimately, they're coming to Ottawa to have a great experience at the school, within our football program, and then the social aspect where I know this, I'm sure you do. You're going to have friends in those dorm rooms that you would have never met that end up being huge parts of your life.
Or you're going to be like me, where there's 2 or 3 other people with your name and you're the one that's constantly getting blamed for their problems. But that's a different story for a different podcast at another time. You bring up family, and that is one thing that for anybody who follows the football team on Twitter, follows your Twitter account, family has been a huge theme since being named coach for Ottawa University. First off, I want you to kind of explain to everyone who's listening what you mean by family with this football team.
Yeah, I don't think it's anything that I've created. So when I took over, I met with every single kid on our team that was going to return. And 65 of the 80 guys said the reason they came to Ottawa was that family atmosphere. A lot of them couldn't necessarily explain it or what it was like on the recruiting, what on the recruiting visit told them that was the family atmosphere other than meeting our players. I then asked them why they wanted to graduate from Ottawa University. And I always say graduate, not why you stay, why do you want to graduate? Because if you're going to say it, you're more likely to do it. And 75 of the 80 guys said they want to graduate because of that family atmosphere. They want to stay because, maybe they came here because it was the last chance opportunity they ever had. And they didn't, they never visited. They didn't care about the family atmosphere. But once they got here, they realized that. And that's something Coach K had developed over 18 years. So that wasn't anything I did. So our players really, whether it's true or not, Bob, I don't know. All right. They're really bought into this family thing. Okay. And they believe in it. And if you believe in stuff, then it's powerful. It doesn't matter if, we're a dysfunctional family at times. So that's going to be any family. But we wanted to grow on that. And I thought there was no better theme than that. That's why that's the best thing our program had done in our players' mind. It's also the best thing that my coaching staff is my family. Coach Mendez is one of my best friends. Coach Coombs, I coached. Coach Hennes, we added to the family. Jacob Garcia is going to coach our D-line next year. I coached him this year. He'd been a player in our program for 5 years and an All-American. Coach Kerr had been a high school guy and a head coach. And we're going to add a few more pieces of the puzzle. We got Coach Lou coming from Louisiana that we're excited to get him on campus, a military background. So because we are close-knit and family, like before we did this interview, we all went after work and got a bite to eat together as the coaching family. So our players see the coaches interact and our players interact. So I think that's where it starts with the family atmosphere. Is my door is always open in my office unless I'm on some important Zoom meeting where I need to close the door. So the kids come in and we give a high five, a fist bump, or a hug when they come in my office. And that's what we just want to build. Because I think at the end of the day, when they graduate, Bob, I hope that they're a better football player. That's our goal as the coaching staff, to get them to become one. But if they have the family atmosphere, the accountability that we try to teach them, and having a positive mindset, they're going to be a better employee, a better son, better future father, husband. And that will make, me go to bed easy at night knowing that our family got better over the years.
So as coaches, you kind of mentioned a little bit of there, but how do you model that to your players?
Yeah, I just think it's showing them. And because of COVID, we haven't had too many opportunities. But, getting my wife on campus with me, going to see a basketball game, me being at wrestling meets with the other coaches, having Coach Mendez, his wife, coaches softball here. So showing support for them, going to dinner with the coaches' wives and that sort of stuff. And having our players around our families is stuff that we want to get going on this spring, so they can kind of see how I interact with my wife, how my wife interacts with me, how my wife and Coach Mendez's wife interact with Coach Coombs. And hopefully we're going to get Coach Hennes's wife up here. They just purchased the house here in a few weeks, and have our players around, because I think that's important. And our dogs, we got a lot of dogs, man. We added 3 more dogs to the family, and little coaching get-togethers are going to be really loud if all the dogs are here barking and stuff. So I think that is important.
You mentioned having that open door. Do you take as a coach almost in a, for lack of a better term, a parent attitude or mentality towards players? Because as a coach, yeah, you're trying to teach them football and teach them that, but these kids also have lives outside of football, and so they do need somebody that they can rely on. Do you see that as also another part of that family message that you and the coaching staff provide with the team?
Yeah, no, I think that you need it. And there may be, you know, and it'll be a good example. The defensive line may feel like they can come to me because I coached them last year, it's because they're dealing with him. Or maybe they're from San Diego and they want to deal, hey, that they're missing home. Well, they should probably go talk to Coach Mendez. Or maybe they're from middle of nowhere in Western Kansas, like Coach Coombs. Well, no one on our staff knows better than middle of nowhere Western Kansas than Wes. So they should go talk to him. Or Coach Hennes, who has coached at like 7 different places in the last 13 years and moving around in different things. So I think if you have someone on your staff that's kind of had those experiences. And what we did, Bob, in that first team meeting was I told them I was the defensive backs coach and the chief energy officer and the head coach. But I told them more about who I was, that where I was from, and what that I paid for. I went to Division III school and I paid for myself and what my family life was like. I wanted to share with them and be that vulnerable where then they would be like, oh, okay, Coach Davis shared a lot with us. Like I can always feel like I can go in and talk to him because he put it out there. And then Coach Mendez did the same thing, and Coach Hennes did the same thing, and Coach Coombs did the same thing. And our players learned way more about us in that 25 minutes than they ever knew. You have a perception of, oh, Coach Davis probably had it all great his whole entire life. Well, there was adversity that everyone on my coaching staff has had to overcome in their life. And it was important our players knew that because they're dealing with the same adversity. I'm 34. Coach Mendez, I think, just turned 35. Coach Coombs is in his 30s. Coach Hennes is the old man on the full time. He's 37. But we're all have done it all in the last 15, 20 years as a player. So we kind of get it.
Speaking of which, Coach Hennes, Coach Tyler Hennes, has joined Ottawa University, listed as co-offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach. And you also mentioned working with wide receivers and player and such. So let's talk a little bit about Coach Hennes. First of all, himself, he came from NCAA Division II school, Southwestern Oklahoma State, where he was the offensive coordinator and special teams coordinator there. So what attracted the OU staff to Coach Hennes and vice versa? What about Coach Hennes? What attracted Ottawa University to Coach Hennes in that sense?
Yep. Well, I think, we had over 200 people apply for the jobs. And one thing that I do unique that not a lot of people do is what I did, that 200 people applied, there was 50 great resumes. Well, anyone can have a great resume if they stole it from someone, or anyone could have had a great resume just because they actually did it. There could have been great candidates that had a terrible resume. So what we did with kind of the top, I think it was 34 people, or I think we sent it to 50 and only 34 decided they want to do it, is I made them do kind of a video resume where they had a 10-minute video that we wanted certain questions answered for us in terms of football, in terms of some philosophy things. And then me, Coach Mendez and Coach Coombs spent 2 days watching every single one of those guys' video and kind of got a glimpse of, okay, well, here's a great resume, but who is he as a teacher? Who is he as another person on our staff? So the big thing I think that we both connected on was Coach Hennes wanted to be a part of a family staff, and he wanted to be a part of accountability, and he wanted to be a part of positive mindset, which were the 3 things our players wanted, which were the 3 things that lined up with the coaches. And then we interview a guy that really wanted all 3 of those things. So those were super interesting to us. He's a Kansas guy. He played junior college football at Independence. He played at Emporia State. So he gets the state of Kansas. So he was excited about coming back home. Been Division I coach at SEMO and Southeast Louisiana. He had coached junior college football Dodge City and Independence. He'd coached high school, and he'd been a Division II offensive coordinator. So it kind of checked all the boxes in terms of his experience. And we just felt really comfortable. And I told Coach Mendez the whole time, it's like, I don't know if we necessarily need to bring in the best offensive mind in the country. We need to find a good one, but we need to find the best fit for our coaches and our players. And we felt like we hit a home run with Coach Hennes, and we were super excited about bringing him on the staff because not only is he a great football coach, he shares the same vision as what we do as the coaching staff. And he's getting pretty close with our coaching staff because he's lived with Coach Mendez as in this moving process where they're trying to buy a home. He's currently living with Coach Coombs. So they're even getting tighter because they're living, and they're understanding and they're spending a lot of time together. It's really cool.
Well, and you talked a little bit about it. I mean, he's been at junior college. He's been Division II, Division I. So that also has to be attractive that there is a pipeline or at least communications and opening to get into certain areas when it comes recruiting time.
Yeah, no, it was crucial on bringing in a high school quarterback from Oklahoma. We didn't know anything about this guy, and he'd been recruiting that guy for years. So that was huge in that kid's recruitment because Coach Hennes had offered him a scholarship at his last school. When he left, that school hadn't honored that scholarship. So he felt really comfortable and he wanted to play for him. So that was big. His time in kind of the Mississippi and the Louisiana area, I think, is going to be crucial to what we're trying to accomplish. He's obviously made some connections in the Division I world with some coaches. And so hopefully that can help with some different transfers and different things down the line if that presents itself. And just having the experience of really, he's coached everything on the offense side of football other than the offensive line. And he's been an offensive coordinator. He's been a special teams coordinator. So we feel like we're getting an amazing coach to come in here. And it's not necessarily that we're changing everything. It's just now we have a different perspective on this.
How does the tree work here with him as co-offensive coordinator? Coach Mendez was offensive coordinator last year. They're kind of sharing duties. Is there one going to be calling the plays? Kind of a little bit about how that's going to shake out.
Yeah. So what's going to be really cool is they're doing it together. So it's things that Coach Mendez has liked for years under the Coach Kessinger offense that he had created and been super explosive with. And then there's things that Tyler are super comfortable with because that's what he's done for the last since 2008 of his career as a college football coach. So it's them trying to mesh together what they both like and then try to figure out what's best for our team. I don't know necessarily right now who's going to call the first play on the first down. If it's a run, I think, Coach Mendez is probably going to have the best suggestion. They're going to do it together. That's all I know. And they're going to see what's best for Ottawa football. Just like Coach Coombs got promoted to defensive coordinator, we're going to figure out on Tuesday what we want to do. He's going to call the plays in the game, but it's going to be something that we've done as a staff that we've already decided works. I'm not letting him be like, hey, first down, just call whatever you want. We didn't talk about anything. So I think that's what some people get confused on, if it is an offensive coordinator. Well, generally, yes, he calls a play, but that whole staff has said, hey, we think these 10 things work best here. We think these 5 plays work on 3rd and 1. And then it's easy to be like, okay, boom, let me go to the first one. Oh, it worked. Great. I'm a great offensive coordinator. Let me go to the second one. Oh, that got stuffed. Now I'm not very good. Let's go to, go back, or, hey, let's go back to the play that's worked every time. So it's about creating a plan together as a staff on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then just go out in a game and, you got to adapt and overcome out on the field. So that's where we feel, and we're super excited about having tons of experience and tons of energy.
So as we begin to wrap this up here, let's go through a little bit of a quick timeline. Coming up here, you mentioned in March, spring ball starts. Are you looking at doing a spring game, or is it just going to be a scrimmage? Kind of give us a little bit of a timeline for the spring for the team, and then hopefully a lot of them stick around for the summertime, and then you guys open up camp in August, I'm sure.
Yeah, so what we're going to do is we're going to start our spring football on March 8th. We're able to get in a few practice. That next week is our spring break, so our guys are going to be going, enjoying themselves after, and a long, January and February working out, and then starting spring practice, and then getting kind of a week's break. And then we're going to come back, and we're able to have 15 practices over kind of a 5-week period there. And what we're going to plan on doing is finishing up on April 9th with a spring game. Now, as you know, Bob, it's Kansas, and it's going to be April. Storms and tornado warnings and all that sort of stuff. I wouldn't, if you live in Australia, I wouldn't book your trip on April 9th, knowing the history of weather in Kansas. But that's kind of our target date. We do have kind of the reserve, the 16th, the weekend after. That is Easter weekend. So we're hoping to be able to play that game the 9th. And then just in terms of, we'll have to see where we're at when we get to that date. I'd love to be able to play a game. We're probably not going to have too much special teams involved in that, but it all depends on if we have enough healthy offensive line. That's what it always comes down to in games like that. Right now in our program, we have 90 guys, so we feel pretty good with depth. But if you have a few injuries, a few hamstring strains, or something, I'll knock on wood on that stuff, that you could end up with 5 healthy offense linemen. It's hard to play a game. You have an all-time O-line or something like that. So it's hard to do that stuff. But we are planning on getting together. We're going to invite the alumni. We're going to invite the current commits. And we're going to have some of our junior prospects that are interested in the program come on that day and be a football family day on April 9th. Again, we're hoping for great weather, but that is kind of the plan. They will then kind of get a few weeks off and finish up with finals and then be able to go home. May's kind of a downtime for them. We'll get back at it in the weight room in June and July for the kids that stay for the summer. The kids that don't, they have their workout program on their phone, on their app. And then we'll bring those kids in at some point in August. We're allowed, I think, before our first contest, I think it's 24, 25 days that we can practice before that first contest, if I am correct on that.
And of course, went and checked, the schedule is not up yet at ottawabraves.com. So I'm sure that will be posted hopefully here soon, where we'll see when things get underway, a prospective start date for the season.
Yeah. So I think, I don't know the exact date, but we're going to open up with with Southwestern at home. So it's the same exact conference schedule as last year, just flipped home and away. And right now we do not have a week 0 game. Several teams have kind of approached us, but we're trying to figure out what the future holds. Obviously the conference unveiled that Evangel is joining the league. So there's potential of playing 11 conference games or 10 conference games or 8, or, we're going to meet as a conference on some of those things here in the future. So it didn't make sense to me to sign a 2-year and 4-year contract with another school, knowing that I may have to break that contract next year if our conference goes to 11 conference games. So we're kind of holding on that, but tentatively the plan is opening up against Southwestern, the defending KCAC champs, at home.
That will be a fun one to open up with, and we are excited. We're looking forward to it. It's going to be fun to see spring ball and check out the spring game. Looking forward to that too, and should see some new faces and see a lot of the old faces on the field come April 9th.
Yeah, hopefully there's a lot of touchdowns and stops.
Well, Coach, I appreciate you being gracious with your time to talk again as we continue to try to build towards the first season with as a head coach, and we will continue to at least once a month try to get some new content out there to talk about what's going on and the Braves faithful, the family outside of the team itself, the ones that call themselves Ottawa University Braves, and appreciate so much for doing that.
Yeah, thank you. And again, everyone out there on Twitter and on the social media, we need a name for this show. So your suggestions are very valuable.
When we post this, you will have not only my Twitter handle, which is at Neil_Johnson. Neil is KNEEL _Johnson. Of course, you know Coach Davis's because everybody knows Coach Davis's Twitter handle by now. He is the rap master of Twitter.
Yeah, at Coach Nick Davis. Pretty easy. I make it simple.
Yeah. I try to be witty and it doesn't work. So we just kept it there. Although there have been other handles at points in time throughout my Twitter career. But we'll keep it at where it is right now. So that's going to wrap it up for us for this month. We appreciate you joining us. Again, those two at Coach Davis and at Neil_Johnson, throw out some suggestions for the name. You know, if something comes out and we like, maybe we'll figure something out. You know, maybe we can throw you a shirt or something, or a hearty handshake. I don't know. We'll figure something out. But suggestions wanted. We've got to name the podcast. It has to be named at some point in time, or we can't take it home from the hospital.
Yeah,
that's how it works. So we appreciate it. We'll be back in March to discuss. We'll talk a little bit about spring ball and such and see how things are going then. But Coach, thank you again for taking time out. And for myself, Bob Johnson, thank you for listening to the yet unnamed Coach Nick Davis podcast.